Welcome to Backseat Confessions Podcast. Slide into the backseat as we listen to mostly anonymous strangers tell us stories from their lives. I'm a rideshare driver in Atlanta, and the people getting in my car have absolutely no idea I'm going to ask them to share. My commitment to you is to tell at least a snippet of virtually every story recorded in my car in the order they were told to me. My hope is that you laugh, cringe, cry, but mostly connect to these amazing people. You may find a piece of your own story or just feel more connected to the rest of us. Join us, won't you? So, hey, my new friend. This is an adult podcast. Themes and languages are definitely not suitable for everyone. Listener discretion is advised. Well, hello, my lovelies. It's that bittersweet moment where I recognize that this is our last ride for several months at least, and I'm going to miss you. Well, maybe not all of you, but most of you. Some of you have, strong body odors, and a few of you aren't very pleasant to chat with. But mostly, I'm grateful that you come along on these urban adventure trips and meet new people with me. It just wouldn't be nearly as much fun if I had to ride by myself. So, thanks for hopping aboard. Our first rider today takes us right into an incredibly tragic moment in her life. There are just some things you can't really prepare for.
Story number 167. Friday, February 26, 2021, 11:16 p.m.
So, in 2015, the July 4th weekend, I was stationed in California. I went down to San Diego.
You said stationed. Military?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. And I spent the weekend with some friends that I knew. And my mom, I'm from Texas, so my mom, the whole weekend, she just kept popping in my head. I kept thinking about it. I'm like, I'm going to call her Monday after the weekend when I get back home.
Yeah.
And I woke up Monday morning. I was getting ready to take my hour drive back home. Mm-hmm. And my aunt called me and she was like, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm in San Diego. But before that, I had woke up to 3 missed calls from my sister, and it was 3 in the morning. Ooh. So when I called her back, she was talking to me like nothing was wrong. So I really didn't think nothing of it.
Yeah.
Until my aunt called me. Both of my aunts called me. And then my ex-boyfriend called me and was like, your mom she's dead. She passed away. And I was like, what? And it freaked me out because when I talked to my sister, she acted like nothing was wrong. And I know it was hard for her to, not want to tell me, that my mom was dead because she knew that I was by myself.
Oh.
So she was murdered and...
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I think it was her boyfriend because they were on the side of the highway. They were having an argument and my mom was pushed in the middle of the road and she was hit by some type of truck. And
oh my God.
The doctor said killed her on impact. So
which that's something to be thankful for in that type of situation. Jesus.
Right.
Oh, Henny, golly.
It sucked. And then
how close were you to her?
She was my best friend. I told her everything. The nitty gritty, everything, secrets. I told her everything.
Yeah. There was
I didn't hide anything.
Like a deep friendship more than some kind of distant mom. Okay. Yeah.
Right. And then 3 years later, my dad passed away.
Oh, wow.
When I was on deployment in Spain. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I lost both parents within 3 years of each other.
Emotionally, where are you at in the grieving process?
I think I'm doing pretty good. It hurts. I cry sometimes, but I feel like I've come to terms with losing both parents.
Yeah.
And I'm 30.
Okay.
So
Oh, you look a lot younger than that. I was like, but still 30's young. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Wow.
Thank you. I think I've come to terms with it. I mean, I have my days where I'm just like, damn, I want to talk to my mom. But
of course.
For the most part, I'm doing pretty good.
Wow. Which branch of the service?
Navy.
Okay, awesome. And how long have you been out?
Oh, no, I'm still in.
Oh, you're still in?
Yeah.
I don't know why I assumed you were out. That's awesome. My youngest son's a Marine, so you guys towed him back and forth.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, gosh, you're still in the Navy, and then so what's your plan? Are you gonna stay in? Do you know sort of how long you want to stay in, or like what does that look like?
Well, I've been in 11 years, so
wow.
I have 9 more.
Yeah. Okay.
Until I can get a pension.
That's amazing. Geez. All right. I guess my last question is, if you were to give advice to people who lose their parents maybe younger than they really should, 30 is pretty young to have lost both parents. So what advice do you have for people that are maybe facing that? Like, how do you get through that?
So my advice to people that lose their parents is to let it all out. Don't hold it in, because it can turn into something else. My sister never was able to grieve.
Yep.
And she ended up having to go to the psych ward for a week because she was thinking about killing herself.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So I would just tell people to just let it all out. If you want to cry, if you want to curse, if you want to scream, just let it out, because it does no good. It does you no good by keeping it in.
That's such good advice. I agree. I had I told that recently, as in a couple years ago, to an older friend who lost his wife, and I think his instinct would have been to kind of like try to hold some of that in. And I was like, bro, this grief, if you bury it, it'll come out as anger, as a disease. It's like there's no way around it. And I love what you're saying. Like, just let it out, because it's coming to get you one way or the other. You have to face it head on. So,
yes.
Wow. Miss Henny, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Losing your parents while you're young, plus having to deal with your mom being murdered, is just too awful to imagine. I do think her advice on truly letting yourself grieve is important, though. Being able to express the grief and then come back to being okay and repeating that process is probably the healthiest way I know to move through this type of loss. Her attitude and outlook on life are inspiring, though, at the end of the day. It happens on this podcast sometimes where there will be a subject that suddenly has multiple unrelated people telling stories with similar themes. Unfortunately, this time, the theme is murder.
Story number 168. Saturday, February 27, 2021, 8:27 p.m.
My story is a mix of the dream/tragedy. I became a police officer because my friend was murdered in 2007.
Wow.
The case was improperly handled, and so at this point I want to help make sure that sort of thing doesn't happen by handling similar situations better to help other people going forward.
Absolutely. So help me out. Are your friend who was murdered, which is horrific, and I'm so sorry, the mishandling, was it like just police incompetence, or was it something else? I mean, like, what is the specific thing that you're trying to correct?
So 2 people actually were murdered.
Okay.
But
Wow.
the guy only ended up getting 20 years for both of them.
Okay.
And part of it, not necessarily mishandled, but there wasn't a strong enough case for what it should have been classified as.
Okay.
So.
Got it. Okay. So you felt like they got the right guy, but they just didn't put the case together well enough.
Correct.
Got it. Yeah. Well, and then how long have you been on the force?
4 years.
Very good. Well, thank you for your service, and I wish you all the best in trying to. I'm very passionate right now about justice reform. I might be slightly on the opposite side of you. I'm not going to lie, but I definitely want to see the justice system reformed. It needs help. So
I agree.
Yeah, and having level-headed, good people in there is going to be a huge part of it. I mean, obviously, there's things that are over, structural, systemic things that have to be fixed too. But yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
I didn't mean to make her feel awkward, but I probably did. I don't have a beef with individual police officers, especially bright and decent ones like this lady obviously was. I just so badly want to see the justice system do better, and police are part of that equation. Anyways, we all have tragedies that occur in our life, and they affect us in different ways. I completely understand and respect that her reaction to her loved one's murder trial not being handled in a way that she felt was adequate would cause her to want to join the system to make it better from the inside. That is a noble and worthwhile cause, and I believe that she is just the kind of person that we would want to become a police officer. This next young man is one of the most insightful and thoughtful gentlemen I've ever had the pleasure of speaking with.
Story number 169. Saturday, February 27, 2021, 9:18 p.m.
Okay, I am a 17-year-old black male living in America, and what I'm going to explain to you today is why I fear pursuing my dreams, specifically in this world, I guess. So, basically, growing up, I've always been in this environment of music. So, I've just grown to love it, and this is what I want to do moving forward with my life. I want to go into music. I want to go into basically the performing arts.
Yeah.
But also while growing up, I'm hearing, I got involved with the internet and the media, and I start hearing these stories about the industry and people's just horrible experiences with the industry, and my young mind thinking, how could anyone possibly have a horrible experience pursuing their dreams?
Right.
So I dive deeper, and I find information that I just find so disgusting, and it just really dissuades me from pursuing it. It really makes me scared. So
give us like an example of like some of the stuff that's worrying you.
An example of some of the stuff that's worrying me is basically I don't really have any specific artists on my mind right now, but basically just I don't want to be someone's agenda. I don't want to go into the industry and immediately have to follow someone's orders or not do what I feel comfortable doing. And I feel like what I fear most about going into the industry with my passions and my dreams is just it if it starts to become something I have to do, like not something like I want to do. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't want it to become like a work thing, like I'm sitting in an office for the next 50 years of my life just doing computer work that I hate.
Right.
And I guess that's the best way I could put it into words.
So is it, would you say it's almost like you're concerned that the entertainment machine, whatever that is, essentially just wants to treat you like a product, make you do what it thinks you should do,
Precisely.
and you sort of lose your soul in it. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm scared that I'll get into the industry and I'll hate music.
Wow, that would be horrifying.
Specifically because they squeeze and they squeeze and they squeeze everything you have, and then like put more out now, this date, and do it just like this. And that's not what I want to do. I want to feel the music. I want to experience everything and put it into my music. I don't want someone to tell me what to write about and tell me how to write it and tell me how to sing it. No. I want to do what I want to do. So basically, that fear of just being controlled in an industry that's supposed to give you freedom and the creativity to do whatever you want, that's just dissuaded me a whole bunch. And it's made me want to, well, it's really just made me realize what I need to do. So I've decided that I just want to be independent.
Yeah.
And just do my own thing. Yeah. Make my own money.
Well, and one thing I know, a big part of how they control you if they're a big label is they give you an advance, right?
Yes.
So they're like, okay,
yes,
you've got like maybe you by yourself build up to, let's say, 50,000 fans, but you're rising meteorically on whatever it's YouTube, whatever the medium is, and they're like, okay, hey, Mr. C, we're gonna throw you $1 million, and you could be like an 18, 19-year-old boy and be like, oh my God, $1 million will change my life, and then you become kind of their pawn at that point, because now you're contractually obligated to do whatever they tell you to do.
Yep, that's how they lure them in.
Yes, and and it's, God, I can't even imagine if you were somebody who was like, you know what, no one else in my family has a shot, I'm the only one, and someone's throwing all these dollars. So I love that you're thinking ahead, because dude, here's a cool thing. You are born at a time where you have more chance to be independent probably than at any other time in history in terms of releasing music, right? So you actually have a chance of truly being independent, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, and what I think is so heartbreaking about how the industry makes these big promises to artists looking to move forward and help their family and everything.
Yep.
They just promise the money, but they don't tell them that you aren't getting the full amount.
Right.
And it sucks, because those artists, they're only thinking about their families, and they probably have the best intentions.
Yep.
And then the industry is just like, no, we just want the money that you're gonna bring in, and that's it.
Yep.
We want to squeeze you, and then when you're out of juice, we're just gonna move on.
Of course.
And that artist who has such big dreams and such big passions are now sitting on a shelf, broke.
Yeah, and another thing that it really, really, I know, talking to several people that just have literally been writers with me in different entertainment sectors. There's almost no financial literacy unless you come from some kind of background that's common. Yeah. But most of the kids that I see, the young people that have hit, whether they've made tens, hundreds, thousands, or millions, no one's helping them manage their money. And without, like you said, without managing the money, they go out and buy like a bunch of drip, and then 2 years later they're broker than ever. And it's terrible, because they actually tasted money for half a minute, and now it's just like, ugh, yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, that's definitely it. One of the artists I really admire is Russ, because he really tries to help people out. He really tries to get these independent artists looking to go forward. He really tries to tell them about how cruel the industry is and what exactly you need to do to be successful in this field. So yeah, I really look up to him. I really appreciate him for doing that, because probably without him, I would have been oblivious to all of this. I would have been a victim just like everyone else.
Wow. And could have gotten sucked in. Is it this one or the next one?
The next one.
Yeah. Man, dude. Well, you know, you're very unusual for a young man your age to be both a creative, but then also to have sort of like this. I mean, I guess there's a lot of artists that they don't want to be under somebody's thumb, but you also have like this kind of like business sense about you too, and this calmness. I mean, honestly, I think you're going to do really well. What you're going to do. You know, there's a lot of there's a saying called the long dime or the short nickel, or it's called delayed gratification. There's all these names for basically not getting so much money up front and building something and then being wealthy later on.
Exactly.
And I think that's what you're talking about right now, is you're saying, I'm going to pass on the gazillion-dollar deal up front and sell my soul, and I'm going to do it slow and I'm going to do it right, but what I build will be mine. They can't take it away from me. My money is my money. And dude, not only do I think that you have the ability, I believe in you. I really do. I have a sense that you've got that ahead of you, partly just because you're clear-headed enough at this stage in the game before you've really made any waves. And if you stick to that, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I just really believe it's all about controlling your desire and just being patient. You can't just rush into anything that's right in front of you. You have to really study it and see if that's really what you want to do. And I guess it really, my background really plays a part in it, how I grew up, how I was raised, and all my horrible experiences that I went through that really played a part. But I feel like just because you had a bad childhood, that can really build a person, or that can really tear a person down. I really feel like it all matters on where you want to see yourself in the next 10 or 15, 50 years. And really, I don't want to see myself in 10, 15 years crying about what happened to me as a child.
Yeah.
Like, no, everyone goes through stuff.
Yes.
Get over it.
Yes. What can I ask you, cuz yeah, I mean, I've had my own weird life, and an incredible amount of challenge in 2020 was such a hard year. So what if you were talking to someone who is going through or has been through some really hard things, especially as it relates to childhood, what was your secret sauce? What was your way through? What got you through
Basically, what I went through with my parents and getting them to finally open up to me and tell me why they gave me such a bad childhood, or why they put me through what I went through.
Yeah.
I really had to kind of like pry in month after month after month. I'm like, please, Mom, talk to me.
Wow.
Please talk to me. Tell me why you did this. And her response will always be, I don't know, or she wouldn't say anything, or she would dismiss me. But eventually, you just get so fed up, and you begin telling them what's wrong with them. Now, some parents might not listen.
Right.
Other parents will dismiss it or try to throw it back in your face, like, oh, you're the cause. Like,
right.
But basically, what I did, since I feel like my voice plays a factor into this, I have like this calmness of my voice. I don't know why, but I sat them down and I talked to them. I'm like, Mom, I really need you to tell me what's going on, because it's affected me tremendously. And if I don't get the closure that I need, you're never gonna see me again. And because I know I'm going to go far, I tell them, like, I'm not gonna be involved with you anymore. So I got her to sit down, and I got my stepdad to sit down and tell me exactly what went on with them, as to why they felt the need to push it all on me and my siblings.
Wow.
So yeah, I really had to pry it out of them. And
and I guess that still that's an incredible amount of emotional intelligence. Is this just like God-given gift that you have, or did you learn it somewhere? Like, where did that level of emotional intelligence come from? Because most kids your age would have just lashed out, anger, whatever. So I just don't understand, like, how are you different? Like, or do you even know? Is it like, can you even explain?
I can try to put it my best way possible. I've just learned from what my parents have done, and I've decided to not do that.
I love it. Okay, that makes sense. I actually know a lot of really successful people who said everything that my parents did, or a lot of what my parents did, I just decided that was no good, and I'm doing everything different than them because I know I need to do that to survive and to thrive. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I studied them, and I've just learned to do the exact opposite of what they do. So my mom, impatient, be patient with her. My stepdad, he gets angry really easily. Just be patient, be calm. Let him get his feelings out, because you may not know, as a child, he may not have been able to express himself.
Yes.
So you, as a child, even though you're a child and you feel like it's supposed to, like the roles are supposed to be reversed, you have to sometimes be the adult to your parent.
Wow.
So it's hard. It's hard. You have to grow up extremely fast, but it pays off because it teaches you a lot. And I don't know, man. It's a lot.
Yeah, you're definitely an old soul, but because you didn't let it break you, bro. And of course, I haven't heard your music yet. I cannot wait. I want to hear your music. And who knows, maybe at some point we can reconnect. I love podcasts, so I've got a couple other ideas, and at some point in the future, I'd love to sit down and in a more traditional setting, not inside a car, and dig in some more. But man, thank you so much, Mr. C, for sharing. It's very powerful, and I really feel like there's going to be some people out there who this is going to affect them in a really profound way. I mean that.
Of course, man.
So much to learn from this young man on the business front, if you're a creator or entrepreneur of any kind, and also on the emotional intelligence side. I just don't know of very many other young people who, with such kindness and clarity, would have been able to both confront his parents in a loving way and also see why they are broken in the ways that they are. I hope and pray he becomes a financial success, if for no other reason than to give him a larger platform to continue to share his heart with us. Our next writer was just a lot of fun to talk with, and she hits on some subjects that most of us will face while we're in the dating world.
Story number 170. Saturday, February 27th, 2021, 11:53 p.m.
By the way, I love your energy tonight. Thank you so much for lifting my spirits tonight. But anyways,
me too.
Yeah,
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so what's your story for us this evening?
Okay, so you inspired me. I'm going to talk about my crush
Love
at
it.
this moment.
Okay.
And I normally am a serial monogamist.
Okay,
and so this is my first time being single in 6 years.
Oh, wow.
So I have been kind of on a crazy streak.
Okay.
And there's this guy that I've been kind of seeing. I don't know, seeing's kind of a a rough word. Kind of hooking up with this guy, right?
Right. There you go.
And he's really good in bed.
Okay. Which is
and he's really
important.
hot.
Okay.
But I actually have started to catch feelings for him.
Uh-oh.
And so you know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
But I'm hoping to see him tonight. I saw him last night.
Okay. How many nights have you seen him total so far?
Okay, so it's actually a crazy story.
Yeah.
He is my brother-in-law's roommate.
Your brother-in-law's roommate. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of awkward, like if things are weird or like don't work out or like end badly, it might get weird.
Right.
But he's really hot, so it's worth it. But
Totally.
he initiated it, so
It's on. Then you'll just blame it on him.
Yeah, honestly, I can. Like, who are people to judge me? Like,
That's right.
Whatever. I'm just going along with it.
I love it.
So he asked for my Snapchat
initially
in January.
Right.
And so we started Snapchatting, and then we eventually met at the end of January.
Okay.
And so we met, and like he came back to my apartment, and we like hit it off. Like we hung out for a long time and like talked. And it's not like he's a rando because he's friends with my brother-in-law. I've known him for 9 years, like my brother-in-law. So, but this guy, he's different. He acts like a fuckboy on the outside, but I know he's not on the inside. Yes, I know, right?
Okay.
So, like when we're alone, he's so genuine. He's so nice. He has an amazing job. Like I graduated from Georgia Tech, and I'm an engineer.
You're a smart girl.
Kind of.
Yeah, I know you are.
And so I'm an engineer.
Yeah.
And he is a software consultant. And so,
wow.
like, we have a lot in common in that realm.
Yep.
And I find it really hot when people are in technology like me and are really ambitious.
So you're a little bit of a sapiosexual... potentially, and then you like ambition. Okay, got it.
Yes, love ambition.
Yeah.
That's like a number one thing for me. But also, he's like a hot nerd.
Wow.
Like seriously, like
this guy's kind of like almost a little too good to be true. It sounds like.
So some of my friends, not some of my friends, one of my friends,
one of your friends,
one of my friends says he's not even hot, Carly. Like honestly, you're out of his league.
You are gorgeous.
Well,
like that's not me trying to be nice. Like you're beautiful.
Thank you.
And if you're in the world of nerds, yeah, you're gonna have to like brains more than beauty, right? That's
yes.
In general.
I mean, but he's so hot in my opinion, and maybe it's because he's good in bed, but I don't know.
Hey,
so
that goes a long way. Hey, there's a lot of guys who do not care enough to try, and then really at some point it's like no matter how good looking you are, if you're a dud in bed, then really, I mean, it's the same for women, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you're not attractive anymore.
No.
And I don't know. Honestly, the chemistry is a lot to me.
Yeah.
So we have a lot in common, I think, and a lot of chemistry. And honestly, I think like my 10th grade self is living out my fantasy of being with a popular guy because I know he was the popular guy in high school.
Oh, really?
It's funny.
Yeah.
He actually went to high school with my roommate. And she remembers him being popular and stuff.
Okay.
And he's a little bit younger than her, but he's older than me. But,
I like it.
So, anyway, we hung out again last night after I told all my friends I was done with him, of course.
Oh, God.
Because he's been, like, jerking me around, honestly. Like, he mixed signals. Like, he told his friend's girlfriend that, like, he likes me and he might want to date me, but he's scared and... like wants me to come to him, and I'm like, dude, the egg don't swim to the sperm. Honestly,
yes, thank you.
Like,
hey, no, I literally had to talk. I had to sit down at one point with my daughter and explain to her I'm all about women's empowerment, but unfortunately, the way biology works, if the dude doesn't pursue you, it'll never work.
It's not gonna
work.
Brilliant.
This is good stuff.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
But like, I need to follow my own advice because here I am. I'm like over here last night, like come to the Battery. Like we're going to the Battery, and he's like, no, I'm going here. And then of course he double Snapchats me and is like, oh, I'm in Alpharetta. And then he's like, it's boring here. I'll come to the Battery. And then he texts me and is like, I'll come to the Battery if you're down. Like, don't say if you're down. Like
man up.
Yeah, like man up. Like say I'm coming. So anyway, he came and we had an amazing time.
Right.
And we talked about a lot of stuff that we hadn't talked about before, like, my past relationships and just like deeper stuff than we had before. Yeah. And so it was good to actually have those conversations with him because I felt like before I was just like a booty call.
Right.
And at the end of the night, I was like, dude, why do you only ask me to hang out after 10 p.m.? And I was just like super sassy about it, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, no, I don't. And I was like, yes, you do. Like, literally, whenever you're drunk, you ask me. Like, last weekend, he literally at 1 a.m. was like, hey, where are you? And I was like, at this bar. And he was like, come over. Like, how more cliche can you get? Yeah. Honestly.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Gosh.
It's very like a mixed feelings thing because like to people on the outside looking in, I feel like maybe they would think like, okay, you're so naive. Obviously, he's just like a fuck boy. Like he's just trying to get in your pants. Right. But he said all that stuff about, you know, wanting to date me and like being scared. And honestly, he's been burned a lot by girls in the past. Like he's been cheated on. He's been like walked out on. Like when he lived with someone for 6 years. Like
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, and you have it's different than if this was a Tinder swipe. Yeah. And you have no context. At least you have some context with this guy.
Exactly.
Because, normally going on, if you didn't have all that and it was just going off what was going on, it would be like, ding ding girl, this guy is right. Yeah, he's telling. And I will. Here's my general piece of advice on guys.
Okay.
Is because we're so much less complicated than you guys are. Whereas a girl, you could literally puzzle for hours trying to figure out exactly where her head's at on something if she's not being straightforward. Guys generally let you know by their actions how they really feel. So they can tell you whatever they want, but how they act is generally how I feel. There are exceptions to this. If he recently got out of a string of bad relationships and he's super burned and he really doesn't want to get into a relationship, but then he's like, shit, this girl's like, you know, beautiful and could be awesome. Like he's like, whatever. That could be an exception. But in general, you got to keep in mind how the guy acts is how he feels, no matter what he's telling you.
Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, for dudes, it's very, very, very much that way. Not as much for chicks, maybe, but definitely for dudes. So, anyways.
I've been playing a lot of games recently. So I've been on TikTok a lot. Researching like how to play hard to get, how to make them obsessed with you. Because like I'm obsessed with him, and I'm like, no. Like I can't keep feeling like this because like he needs to be obsessed with me, and it works. Yeah. Like I ignored him yesterday, and of course he texts me, and I'm like. Of course. Like,
no, it's true.
Always works. Foolproof.
Yeah, it does. Well, and I spent a huge chunk of my life in sales, and it's so sad. But in the world of sales, it's if you're not in relationship sales, which is where I did the best and where I wanted to be, if you are in hard close, short-term sales, it's literally a bunch of like psychology and mind manipulation, and all of that stuff. It's real, and a lot of people subconsciously just succumb to it. So, the little tease and then the pull away makes them go want to come after you.
The on and off method is what it's called.
So sad.
And let me tell you, it freaking works. Like you act obsessed with them one day. Like it's not just like match their energy. Like you act obsessed with them. Like, oh my god, you're so hot. Like like come see me tonight. Blah blah blah. Like sleep over. And then the next day.
Yes.
Give him a cold shoulder. That's what I did to him today. Yep. Honestly.
Well, you give him the dopamine hit of like, oh my god, I'm the best thing ever, and then when you pull it away, they're like, I need that hit.
I gotta be honest with you.
Tell me.
So, we have unprotected sex, as one does. Yep. And of course, he came in me last night, and so this morning I go to get Plan B because I'm like, okay, like obviously this is bad.
And that's the morning after pill, right?
Yes, okay, yes. And he's like texting me like, like, did you do it? Like, did you get it? Because he had to go let his dog out. Anyway. Right. And so he's like, can you do it? Like, I'll pay you, whatever. Like, I was like, yeah, you will. You'll pay me. And like, yeah, you fucking better pay me.
Right.
And so I left him on red. And then I posted a Snapchat story of like me with my friends after he said, did you take it? And when he said, how much do I owe you? And I like didn't respond. He's like, you need like what? Yeah. Like he was like, as much as I love this, like I don't need a family right now.
Yeah.
And it honestly was so entertaining.
Yeah.
So entertaining.
Oh yeah, you could almost feel his poor little
the
heart.
Panic.
The panic. It's so real.
Honestly, and I felt so mean because I was like, "That's really bad." Like, obviously, I'm not a psycho. Like, I'm gonna do it.
No,
like,
yeah.
But
it's still
honestly, I could trap him so easily. Mm-hmm. Like, what an idiot. Honestly.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I really like him, but like, and you're smart, dude. But like, why would you do that? You're an idiot.
Yeah.
I could be crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's heat of the moment, man. When you're I don't know how it is for a woman, but when you're in the heat of the moment as a guy, your brain pretty much dissolves.
No, honestly, I was like, it's fine, do it. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. No, I know. For both men and women, I think we kind of lose our marbles. Then we're like, oh, we made a baby. Oh no.
You're like, oh no, like it was worth it.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. But like in the moment, right? Like in the morning, I was like, oh my god, we're so dumb. Why did we do that?
Right.
Like,
there's actually, and I wish I could remember. There's amazing neuroscience research on what happens in those moments. and I wish I could remember, but it's something about how, normally your brain is able to comprehend sort of long-term, like more data points and sort of like, okay, this action could lead to this, this, and this. But like in those moments when like there's a lot of hormones going, like you just narrow down and the only thing your brain can focus on is like you're so in the present, right? There's nothing more present.
Yeah.
And you're like, this thing feels amazing right now.
Yes.
And your brain can't actually process long-term consequences. It's so interesting.
I feel like I have no self-control with that. I'm like, whatever. It's his fault, to be honest. I'm like, honestly, you should be doing all of it. Like, why does this follow me? I hate it. Honestly, the story of being a woman.
I know, it's the story of being a woman, yeah. And enjoy that, because it really doesn't stop. Like
it really doesn't.
No.
Like, because he knows that, like, like, if something were to happen, it would all follow me.
I know. Gosh.
Which sucks, but yes, that's into my saga, honestly.
I love it. Gosh, so what is okay? Let's pretend for like a second, just shut off the emotions. Pretend like you're not you. Like you're making a prediction, for Tatiana.
Okay.
But you're like you're maybe your best friend or something, somebody that knows you and kind of knows patterns and knows you really well. But if you were like a third party, what's your prediction on him and just kind of like where you're at right now in terms of like relationships and
I guess
boys?
a third party perspective, all my friends have been like, you deserve more. Like, he's a fuckboy. Yeah,
I'll
cut
fix
that
that.
out. Like, he's a fuckboy. Like, you deserve more. Like, you're hot. You could get any guy. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like
he's the
this
one I want.
guy, I know. And
maybe,
like nothing is like my friend asked me now, like, what's so special about him? Like, what do you like about him? And I could say some things, but I don't know what it is. It's an intangible thing that I like about him.
You know what though?
So.
I will tell you this, and only because I feel like he's a little bit of a known quantity. I would never normally do this, but I wonder, if you kind of pull back and let him pursue you, and if he actually decides, like, you know what, I actually really do like this girl, and I'm gonna quit being an idiot and yada yada, like.
That's the goal. I need to pull back and let him pursue me.
Yeah,
you're right.
It's so true. Like, it's literally, my daughter was like, she went through a stage where she was like, I'm just going to be really honest with guys about my feelings, like right up front. And I'm like, nope, it's not going to work. I was like,
I play the games.
And there's just, if we don't pursue as a guy, we won't be into it. We won't respect you. We won't really, we won't want you.
If you give them everything up front, like, no.
Well, and it's not, I know what you're saying as far as, it's not even so much about whether you have sex early on or not. I don't think. It's much more about feminine energy attracts, male energy pursues. And when you mess with that and the female starts pursuing, first, on a short-term basis, men have no defense, especially if you're beautiful. They're going to say yes, but they're also, something in their brain's going to trip and they're going, something's not right. They might not even understand it. So it's so important to make sure that you let the guy pursue. And I know there's a lot of guys these days that just don't know how to be a dude and how to pursue either.
Don't.
So I know.
I think
tricky.
he has too much pride, honestly. But, his ego through the roof.
Jeez. Well, Tatiana, you are amazing. Thank you so much
too.
for livening up this night. And I know somebody's going to be like at least entertained, maybe learn something.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like I'm on the Call Her Daddy podcast. Have you ever listened to that?
I've never heard it, but I can't tell you, you're like the 20th woman who's told me like it's such an amazing podcast.
It is great, honestly.
Yeah, I need to jump on that.
Okay, do it.
All right.
Okay.
Well, and
here you go.
All right, thank you. She was such a delight to chat with. And not too much to add to all of this, other than to say that I don't really like the idea of playing games with people. But I really do understand why folks feel like they have to. It's one thing to learn about psychology and follow some basic rules of the road based on our biology, but it does kind of feel yuck to manipulate someone. So that would be my only note of encouragement, is to find that fine line and stay on the right side of it. This next young man talks about the time when he was really young and on a road trip with his family for his sister's travel team. He really looked up to her and decided that he wanted the same kind of candy she had.
Story number 171. Sunday, February 28, 2021, 12:22 a.m.
I wanted to get like a thing of gobstoppers, and so I got some, and I got like this thing of candy. I'm with my family and everything, and like we're on this road trip, and I don't really remember what happened, but suddenly like I was like eating these like hard candies, gobstoppers, and I started choking on one, dude. It was crazy. I was like really, really young, and I started choking on this gobstopper when we're driving on the highway, and my mom didn't know what to do. She didn't know the Heimlich maneuver or anything, like it was crazy. And I was like, I think I was like 4 or 5, like really young, and I was like choking on this fucking like this thing just like was like stuck in my like I couldn't breathe, dude, and I was just like coughing up blood. And my mom, they like stopped the van on the side of the road, and my mom was digging her hands down my throat, and just like trying. And I remember seeing like blood all over her fingers, like in like the totally wrong way to like. Like, she didn't know how to do the Heimlich maneuver, dude. This is like back in the 90s, Like, she didn't know shit. And and I was like choking on this shit, dude. I remember this shit like so vividly, dude.
Because you were like facing death in your mind.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't breathe, man.
Right,
it was insane, man. Wow. And like like they like pushed all this shit out the car, like we were on the side of the like highway, and she like pushed like the cooler out the car, and like she was like digging her fingers down my throat, and there was all this blood. I remember seeing blood on her fingers and stuff, and like nuts, dude. And then all of a sudden I could just like breathe again, and I don't know what happened, if she got it out or if it went all the way down. I'm not sure what happened, but luckily, dude, like I like came through, and like I don't know what happened, if the gobstopper went down or if she got it out or what, dude. But
man,
yeah, dude,
that literally could have been the end of Chase right there, like for real.
Yeah, man, it was nuts. It was nuts. Yeah, so
it's crazy that you can still remember it so clearly, so many years later. Wow. Well, Chase, thank you so much for sharing your story, and we're all glad that you survived your gobstopper episode.
Gobstopper, yes, sir. Yeah, man.
Take care, man.
Me too, man.
Man, oh man, near death by gobstopper. Not the way you would want to go out. Our final ride of this episode, and also season 2 as it happens, is a good one to go out on. This young man tells about his journey out of a very potentially restrictive and toxic background into one of finding his own way.
Story number 172. Sunday, February 28, 2021, 12:54 a.m.
I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Back home, I was a server as well, like I am down here.
Okay.
But I'm a dancer.
Oh, wow.
So I've always loved to dance from a young age, but my family is Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm also, like, I have like a very open sexuality as well. Okay. So being as I was raised with Jehovah's Witnesses, and my whole family is like, I don't get a break from it.
Yeah.
Like if I go over one of my family's houses, it's Jehovah's Witnesses. If I go over another family, it's all
it's a very tight knit sort of community,
it's
isn't
all
it?
there.
Yeah.
So growing up in that was kind of challenging.
Yeah.
Because it was like you were kind of pounded on with the religion, but it's also like trying to find yourself and expressing yourself and stuff like that. So I really didn't really like come out or anything like that. Really until like I was leaving my parents' house, my grandma's house. So that was that. But my dance career really didn't start until I was out of the house and I had my freshman year of college.
Nice. Are you like multidisciplined, or you have a particular focus in the dance world?
So I do have a particular focus. I'm majority hip hop.
Okay, yeah.
But I do love all styles.
Love it.
I love art in general. It doesn't
Amazing.
matter whether it's like drawing or dancing or singing.
So you're just a creative soul, period.
I'm a creative, just in general.
Amazing.
But yeah, when I got out the house, I definitely got to experience like more dance and more like culture shock, and I was so sheltered I didn't realize like I didn't have any street smarts. I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like a complete new learning experience. And then when I was in high school and college, I was kind of dating.
Yep.
So I was very relationship oriented, so I didn't really have like my own sort of life, you know what I mean? Because I've had like a relationship ever since I've been in high school.
Wow.
So I didn't really have my own sense of my own life.
Yeah.
So after that, I was dating again after I left college, and I kind of got wrapped up into that. Luckily, I did start dating someone who did have a love for dance as well as me.
Yeah.
And we started like a dance team together.
Nice.
And it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
We taught kids that were in our community who we would see on the streets, and we would think that it would be better for them to be doing something constructive than to be doing something out there.
Brilliant.
So when we would see them, we were like, "Hey, do you dance?" We would just be passing by them, and they'd be like, "Yeah." We'd like, "Give me your parents' number," and we'll be have them practice next week.
Heck yeah,
and we
man.
would legit take these kids like to different states, and they would dance and they would compete and they would win. So it was like really good.
Wow. So you guys were actually really good teachers, which
yes,
that's
really good.
amazing.
So I did that for about 6 years.
Okay.
Back in Pittsburgh, and then I just kind of. I didn't fall out of love with it, but I kind of had a day to where I was like, wait, Rocket, you haven't done anything for yourself. Like I've been with my dance team 4 times a week, picking them up, dropping them off. I bought a whole Honda Odyssey just to handle all of them. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like very much like I put my time and space into all of them for so long that I didn't really have any time to give myself a dance break. You know what I mean? To get myself out there. So one day with my significant other, I just kind of realized that I kind of wanted to take some time and find myself.
Yep.
So I legit told them that I was like, all right, I came home from work. I'm like, hey, I know we're great and all like that, but I'm kind of losing myself.
Wow.
I haven't done anything for myself. So I think I want to move to Atlanta and pursue my dance career.
Wow. Yeah.
And luckily, that person was understanding of it.
That's cool.
Because we actually had gone to high school together.
Okay.
Which is a weird thing that we had been in a relationship together, because I didn't think that would happen because we weren't friends in high school.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, not at all.
Wow.
So they were understanding of that because they also felt the same way.
Okay.
So
you didn't like leave them heartbroken?
No, not at all. So I was like, hey, let's use this time, to get our stuff together. I'm going to move to Atlanta. I'm going to try to get my dance popping, and get out there, and you can do what you need to do.
Yeah.
This person also moved to Atlanta, but they decided that it wasn't great for them, so they moved back home.
Okay.
Because they're very family oriented.
Yeah.
So they can't like miss out on that.
I assume was he also a Jehovah's Witness?
No, not at all.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So just strong family, but not necessarily part of the.
Just very, very strong family.
Okay.
And I don't have a very strong family tie because of the Jehovah's Witness aspect of it.
Oh, okay. So have they sort of cut you off, or is it more just like, hey, we just don't have a strong tie?
With that religion, that's like one of the big no-nos. So it's like there's nothing really that I can explain to them and try to make them see that's going to make them understand or
Yeah,
accept it. So
of
there's
course.
no acceptance whatsoever.
No,
of it,
yeah, no, yeah.
you know?
I'm very aware.
And,
I was raised.
I can only respect it because that's their religion and
Absolutely.
that's what they want to do.
No, for sure.
I mean, and I don't respect it at the same time because
No, I know.
family is family no matter what. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's tricky.
But I mean, I'm an adult now, so I've come to realize that I got it.
yeah.
Yeah. So I legit after I told my significant other that maybe a month later I moved to Atlanta.
Yeah. Wow. Good for
And
you,
I've been
though.
down here ever since, and I luckily got a job like my first day moving.
Wow, look
down
at you.
here, I went out there and I got a job.
Yep.
And I've been dancing ever since.
Oh, dude, that's really cool, Rocket.
And I honestly feel like Atlanta's the spot for me.
I can see that. Atlanta, I tell people, it's one of the most gritty, creative cities you'll ever be in. It's just this weird mix of like, it's like Hollywood meets Nashville R&B, right?
New York.
Yeah, it's such an interesting, and there's a little something for everybody here. I don't care what your scene is.
Most definitely.
Yeah, it's here. It's such a creative place. Yeah, so I was going to ask you how you kind of answered it, but just like how has that been for you to navigate your family dynamics with the religion, and then you coming out? And you said you're open, so I don't want to call you gay because you may not actually identify as gay. So but bi or open or whatever that is. So how's that been for you? How have you done that?
So it's a weird situation because my family dynamic is different.
Yeah.
I was raised by my grandmother because my mother, she's been an alcoholic and a drug user when I was younger.
Yep.
And so she used to have us as her children. It was me and my 3 other sisters, which I was raised in a full female household. I was the only male, so
Okay.
Go figure.
But
with that, it's kind of difficult because my mother is she's always going through it.
Yeah.
And
okay, so she's still an addict to this day.
Yeah, and she still does like weird things that I don't understand because like she's grown, and I feel like she shouldn't have to do things she does if she doesn't want to, and if she has the help.
Yeah.
But she still reverts to doing the same things.
Wow.
So it's like I don't know how to help from that point.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at some point there really is just that, you've got to go live your life, and you can't be responsible for your mom who's a full-grown adult.
Yes.
And and I do know it's an illness and all the rest of that, but you have to, like, it's like if you're sick you got to go to the hospital.
Yes.
If you don't, I don't know what to do for you, man.
And not gonna lie, I feel like my grandmother's religion and my family's religion is sort of an illness too, in its own way.
Fair enough.
Because it's like
so
other religions are. I've had to experience other religions because I don't like to say I'm that religious. I feel like I'm spiritual, but not religious, because I haven't delved into every religion, so I don't know exactly what I'm into. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that religion, I feel like it's very, if I can say, occult-like.
Yep.
It has strict boundaries and rules, and if you don't stick to those rules, you're denounced. And such.
Yep. Which is one of the things that cults typically do. Is it's like it's an us versus them. You're either in or you're out. Yeah.
And when you're raised there at a young age, it's kind of like being brainwashed into that system of systematic thinking and doing. So it's kind of hard to communicate with my family. I don't communicate with my family.
So I think my real question, I realize, I'm sorry I got distracted by all this traffic, but I think my real question then is, like, how have you navigated that emotionally? Because I get that it's just, not to get into my story, but I was raised in a cult as well, so I understand way more than you probably would have known without me saying that. But, like, how have you navigated, like, not feeling less than or not feeling rejected or, all that stuff,
So back when I was younger, I definitely dealt with like my feelings to myself. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I would be like come in my room and I would cry myself to sleep and stuff like that.
Okay.
But at one point, I decided that I was the man in my household.
Wow.
And it was my own reckoning.
Look at that.
And I just kind of got numb.
Was your dad not around?
No, my dad wasn't around.
Okay, yeah.
And when he was around, it was very like systematic. Like it was like every once a year.
Oh, okay,
that.
No, he wasn't really.
And then when he found out that I was so open with my sexuality, he called me and he was like reading Bible verses to me and stuff like that, and that kind of just wasn't the situation. So it was just kind of like a disappointment in him. But it was kind of like, bro, you haven't been around. You haven't. So I don't know
you don't get a chance
to
chime in now.
Yes, exactly.
A gazillion years after.
It kind of was that. So I kind of honestly have gotten numb to a lot of emotion. I haven't cried in maybe 13 years.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
And it's weird because...
How can you be such a creative, deep feeler of a person and not cry? I don't understand that.
And it's weird because I've just had a creative visual in dance where I was depicting like homelessness.
Yeah.
And it was honestly honoring my mom.
Wow.
Because she panhandles on the street.
Okay.
And she does it to this day, and she doesn't need to. She lives in a house.
Right. No. Okay.
Like,
yeah.
she lives in, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
Gotcha. So it just kind of like,
yeah.
It messes with me because it's like I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But I understand it's a mental illness.
It is.
So like every time I think of my visual, I get choked up. I'm not gonna lie, and I've honestly cried thinking about it because I think about my mother, and then I cry, but then I don't know why I cry. But then I kind of figure maybe it's because of the emotion of wanting to have a relationship and not having it.
Of course, yeah, absolutely, and your lost childhood. I mean, there's so much in there. That's intense.
Yeah, and now that I'm in Atlanta, there's like it's not like a going back. There's no going backwards for me. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. But I will say I'll encourage you. You can't force this stuff, but when it comes, don't fight it. One of the things I learned about grief is if you don't face it head on, you'll drown in something else. It could be anger, it could be a sickness, it could be 1,000 things. But grief, it when it comes, there's no stopping it. You can, and if you don't cry and you don't just like sort of let it out that way, like I said, usually the stuff that you get instead of just crying through it is pretty bad stuff. So yeah, I would highly encourage you just to roll with it when those waves of grief come.
Yeah, because even now, like my sister lives down here.
Yeah.
And when I go through things in my life that are like troublesome or I don't know what the next move is, I completely like shut down from everybody.
Wow.
So like you probably won't hear from me for 2 months.
Wow.
Like, until I recover from that situation. I legit won't talk to anybody or anything like that.
Wow.
And I'm trying to get like through that and past that.
Yeah.
But it's still a occurring thing.
Have you sought out counseling by any chance?
No, no.
Okay. And I say that because I know I have some black friends who do get counseling, and they've told me that in the black community there's a stigma against it, and especially if you were raised conservatively like I was, there might be like you might be carrying some stigmas about counseling, but you might find that potentially you could find that really helpful.
I understand. Even I feel like in the black community, we stigmatize a lot of things.
Right.
My grandmother, I have like wisdom teeth, and when I went to the dentist and the dentist told me I had 4 wisdom teeth, and I came home and told my grandmother, and showed her paperwork, she said, "Oh, you're doing too much. You don't need to get your wisdom teeth pulled out." Da, da, da. You know what I mean? Like they make it seem like it's, you know what I mean, like it's doing too much all the time, and it's really not. We really need it, but it's okay.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know we're here now, but man, thank you so much for just opening up and sharing.
No problem.
Yeah, I connect your story in a lot of ways.
No problem.
Really,
I probably have told you more than I've told anybody in Atlanta so far.
Dude, you know what? That makes seriously from the point of view of this project, I didn't know that was part of why I feel like I was supposed to do this project, but I've realized that there are people who tell me things where like, I don't really talk about this ever, and so
to anyone,
I love
to get an open, anonymous, you know what I mean, just voice and ear. It's been really good. No lie.
Thank you for that, man. That means that really, to me personally, it means a lot. But thank you, Rocket. You're an amazing guy.
No problem. I appreciate you.
So many things to love about this man's story. We just kind of breezed past his work in Philly of taking kids off the street and teaching them to dance. How freaking cool is that? But the bigger story is one of finding himself and deciding who he wanted to be, while at the same time struggling to understand why the people closest to him were just not supportive of him at all. I mentioned briefly in here that I was raised in a cult myself, so I understand some of the powerful dynamics at play. Also, as a Christian, I know that we have a long ways to go in working out how to talk about and live with the people in the LGBTQ+ community. All of that is far beyond the scope of this podcast, but I do want to acknowledge it. As you heard from the end, though, he gave me another confirmation that I was supposed to do this project. Giving people a place to tell their story, or at least a piece of their story from their life, is such an incredible honor. Oh man, it's that time again. Time to close out another season and say goodbye for a little while. This final episode was on the heavier side. 2 stories involving murder, and most of the others were about people finding their way through the complexities of life. There's no easy button you get to hit along the way. But there is this sneaky thing called hope, and I'm hoping you picked up on it. In every story, there was light at the end of the tunnel. So that's what I want to leave all of you with while BCP goes on hiatus for a while. Don't let the flame of hope go out in your heart. If you're a person of faith, I pray you connect more deeply to the divine and to true love. If you consider yourself to be spiritual, but not connected to any particular faith tradition, I pray you find your path to deeper connection to what is beyond you and also to true love. But most of all, please never give up on hope. However you find it, wherever you get it, guard it like a flicker of flame in a cold, damp forest that you need just for survival. Because you do. One of my favorite spiritual leaders defines hope as the joyful expectancy of a good end. I like that. Okay, sayonara until we meet again, my friends. This is what happens when you are a rideshare driver in Atlanta and ask people for their stories. These weren't handpicked people with great stories. They just happened to get in my car and be gracious enough to share with all of us. And who knows, maybe someday you'll be in Atlanta and need to grab a rideshare and end up telling the rest of us the next great story on BCP. I'd actually encourage you to, every so often, just ask a stranger to share a story from their life. You never know what you might learn. I believe that our stories are powerful. They can make you laugh, cringe, cry, or even get you to think or feel differently. Our stories can truly make this world a little bit better place. So please, subscribe, rate, and listen to this podcast and share it with as many adults as possible. It would mean so much to me. First and foremost, I want to thank the incredible writers who trusted me with your stories. You're my heroes. Thanks also to all the people in the background who have believed in this project/dream. All of the music on this podcast was found on pixabay.com, and it was free, which is an amazing gift when you're starting a podcast on a shoestring budget.